For more on all of this, let's bring in our Dr. David Agus. Good morning, Dr. Agus. How are you doing?
Good morning, Nate. I'm all right.
I wish we had you here under better circumstances, but your knowledge is needed in moments like this. The Buffalo Bills confirmed in a statement that Damar Hamlin suffered cardiac arrest. His heartbeat was restored on the field, and he's currently in critical condition. What does all of this mean to you?
Well, you saw that tackle. In that tackle, the opponent's helmet was in his chest, so he had blunt force trauma to the chest. And in the exact right spot, at the exact right moment during his heartbeat, it caused his heart to have what we call an arrhythmia, not beat effectively to push blood to the brain. So he stood up, not enough blood went to the brain, he fell down, and that heart was in ventricular fibrillation. What we know with this committed cordis, which is this condition, is that every minute you delay shocking them, resuscitating them, what happens is there's an increase of 10% in mortality. They started CPR right away, which is great. My hope is they were able to restore the heart rate soon enough to be able to get blood flow to the brain so there's no damage there.
So the question, Dr. Agus, is how common are hits like this that have the potential to stop an individual's heart, and how much time, you talked about oxygen to his brain, they got his heart beating on the field, but he's still breathing on a ventilator. He's not breathing on his own. So what does that tell you?
So there are about 30 of these cases a year that happen in the United States. They predominantly happen in kids. It happens during Little League Baseball. A ball is thrown by a pitcher and hits the person in the chest. It happens in soccer, where there's something that causes that blunt force trauma. So remarkably rare. The fact that he's not breathing on his own certainly makes me worried, because the sooner you are able to shock him back into a normal rhythm, the sooner you can go back to everything working. And that fact that he's not breathing on his own may tell me there's some brain damage. And I'm over-interpreting here. I think that's clear, but we're going to know a lot over the next 12 to 24 hours as they start to turn down the machine that's breathing for him, the ventilator, to see if he can breathe on his own. And our hopes and prayers are that he can.
Dr. Agus, if it was the condition that you mentioned it's extremely rare, but should there be more scrutiny on player safety? There's a lot of focus on brain injuries, but should there be more focus on the impact of these tackles on other parts of the body?
Listen, I think in all sport, we have to re-look at safety. When a child heads a soccer ball once, you see MRI changes of inflammation in the brain in these kids. In football, we're seeing lots of injuries. You know, the artificial turf is changing. They're getting more athletic. The game is changing. And when we do that, we start to have to look, can we protect the athletes better? These athletes, as we saw last night, put their lives on the line for our entertainment. And it's the obligation, I think, of all of us to make sure they're protected as much as they can be.
Dr. David Agus, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
You know, this is, it's unfortunate that the players had to witness this, coaches, fans in the stadium, but also fans at home. You know, as players, we come to grips that the injury rate in the NFL is 100%. Let me repeat that. You will get injured. It's inevitable.
And you are, when you decide to play this game, you take that knowing that that could happen.
When I write my signature down, I understand that. Mm-hmm. What we struggle to wrestle with is that it could be worse. And oftentimes, we avoid it. You skate by. 11 years for me. Mm-hmm. I've had broken bones, tore ligaments. I've done it all. Concussions all the way down to my pinky toes. I've hurt everything on my body. But your worst nightmare is what we saw last night. We just hope that he recovers, and we're praying for it. Him and his family as well.
We are praying for him, his family, and the fans who are coming out and turning out to support them is
a beautiful sight.
Wonderful thing.
And we'll talk a little bit more about this at the top of the 8.
That's right.